Video games come in many flavors. You've got the fighting games, pitting characters from various regions and worlds to see who's the best of the best. The first-person shooters, allowing you to have all the power of a firearm without any of the danger. And then you've got role-playing games, allowing for telling epic stories in turn-based, usually, adventures. But I think one of the more interesting genres of video games out there would be the visual novel. And for the spooky month of Halloween, I thought we should talk about one of the more darker and interesting visual novels out there, The Killing Game of Danganronpa. Hello ladies and gentlemen, I am your ever-friendly Pokeprof, and welcome back to Fascinating Fiction. So, quick explanation on what visual novels are, on the off chance there's someone watching this video who isn't familiar with it. As a genre of video games that are mostly popular over in Asia and Japan, the basic concept of them is an interactive book of sorts, usually with still images to represent the characters, and the main character often having little or no representation in the game itself, so as to allow the player to put themselves into the main role. Basically, think of it as a more elaborate playable version of those choose-your-own-adventure books you might have seen as a kid in the school library. It mostly gained notoriety here in the West thanks to some of the more popular ones, such as Clan Ed and Fate, being turned into animes. Or, in the case of Fate, a mega force of insanity. Trust me when I say that I will be covering that one day. That is going to be a fun episode. But when it comes to visual novels, most people are likely going to be the most familiar with it thanks to the Ace Attorney franchise, which does a unique spin on things by having you play as a defense attorney in the court of law, and the game itself into a bit of a mystery series where the player has to figure out who the true killer is while doing their best on making sure their client is found innocent. So how does this relate to the subject of today's video? Well, Danganronpa takes perhaps the most fan-favorite element of the Phoenix Wright games, that being the actual court cases themselves, and turns them on their ear. So, what is the actual setting of this series, and what makes it so fitting for the spooky times of Halloween? Well, it starts off with Hope's Peak Academy, a government-sanctioned school whose focus is to cultivate the strongest talents of the world. They do this by finding high schoolers who are considered to be the ultimate in their talent, such as the ultimate programmer or the ultimate nurse, and has them come to the school. It is said that if you graduate from Hope's Peak, you're guaranteed for success at life. Of course, such a wonderful location wouldn't be so horrible until you go and introduce a particular monochromatic bear into the equation. This is Monokuma, an evil stuffed bear who plays the role of the villain of the story. While I won't give out too much information about him or the rest of the franchise, considering part of the fun of this game is the experience of all the stuff that happens into it with the story, I will at least go into the details of the player and the rest of the cast wake up inside Hope's Peak Academy only to find out that it's been locked down and Monokuma here is claiming to be their headmaster. What's more, he goes on to establish that they're going to live out the rest of their lives within the confines of the school. Should they want to leave this peaceful life, as he puts it, they can, provided that they do one simple task. That is, they have to kill one of the other students within the school and then get away with not being found out in the class trial that happens afterwards. There's added pressure on the player since if the killer does get away, everybody else in the class dies. This is where the relations to Ace Attorney can be found, as they both have elements such as finding clues about how a character was killed, learning about different elements that could lead to misconceptions about characters and locations, and big-time reveals that can change the entire way the series is viewed. In a way, you can see it as a corruption of what Phoenix does, where his job is to prove someone innocent and save them. In this game, you've got to find the killer to ensure that they are the only one who die in the end. Of course, if it was just a free-for-all killing spree, it wouldn't be that interesting a game, now would it? No, perhaps what makes the game the most engaging to play are the elements within it that remind me of the Persona franchise. That is to say, the social element of all the characters. There are periods of free time that you get at particular points within Danganronpa, where the player is free to do pretty much whatever they want. During this, you're able to associate with some of the characters and develop a relationship with them, learning about their backstories, what makes them tick, and eventually becoming friends with them. They'll also give you some special abilities to use for the K segments of the game to make it a little easier. The rub comes in, however, when you realize that there's only so much time you're going to be able to hang out with some of these characters, as they are going to either kill or be killed. Insert your own flowery Undertale joke here, please. This game turned out to be a surprise hit for the company Spike Chunsoft, which some of you might be familiar with thanks to another well-loved franchise of spin-off video games. In particular, these are the people who are responsible for the Pokemon Mystery Dungeon games. Yeah, kind of weird to go from the family-friendly adventures from Nintendo to the horror of Monokuma. Though to be fair, there is an evil version of Dialga and Dusclops in one game, so maybe they always had it in their DNA? Like many other visual novel games, Danganronpa eventually got an anime made out of it. Two, in fact. One based off the first game, and another based off its third. Pause. So, before we go any further, I just want to point out something. This is actually future Pokeprof, the one who's actually doing the editing on this video as we speak. And I made a mistake here that will continue on for the next few minutes, but I want to point this out now. The second anime for Danganronpa is actually not based off the third game, it's actually based off the first two, having a split timeline kind of dealio which allows you to have some closure to the actual original two games. I was misinformed here, and unfortunately I can't really go back and do a whole rigmarole of things to try and fix it since I'm already stupidly behind on this episode. Hopefully it will be going up as of Sunday. But yeah, I just wanted to cover this real quick before we get too much further. Sorry. I've honestly not seen either of them myself, but from what I've been told about the reaction to them, it's been a bit mixed, especially since many of the voice actors that the players are familiar with from the actual games themselves often don't get to reprise their roles in the anime, causing a bit of a disconnect. Add in that age-old problem of squeezing a 30-plus hour game that allows you to go as deep as you want with the characters into an anime with half that runtime, and well, I think it might honestly be better to enjoy the games themselves, personally. There are few franchises out there that really come and show off the power that different genres of video games can really have. And while I do think Ace Attorney and Fate are the franchises that we can thank for really bringing the visual novel genre into the light for Western audiences, I do feel like Danganronpa is a series that was really able to show off what it could really do with storytelling, gameplay, and wonderful characters that are absolutely going to break your heart when some of them start to get killed off. And the only thing left I have to say is, just start running if you ever hear these next three words.
It's punishment time!